Okay, that one's a little bit different. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's time for that weekly mod collection demo shop update, and we're going to start it off with this weird-looking Trini Lopez in the all-Naturale finish. So, if you're not familiar, Trini Lopez had a 335 that had these interesting diamond-shaped F-holes. And then Dave Grohl saw it and loved the model and kind of made his own signature out of it, the DG 335, which rumor on the street is we're getting an Epiphone version of that soon. So besides Dave's version in Pelham Blue, typically you find them in the cherry color. But that doesn't mean that they don't offer an ebony. Chicago Music Exchange did a weird shell pink, which I think honestly works pretty good. But you certainly do not see a natural one every day. I like what they've done here, so it's kind of sad that we lost the Trini Lopez tailpiece, and we have kind of an unusual Bigsby choice on this. That's the B5. Typically you throw that on like an SG. But the blending of the cream binding, the natural finish, and then throwing on the creamy pickups with your rings really just gives this thing a whole new identity. Clear knobs on it as well. And I was curious if it was the new double classic white 57 Classics, and yes it is. Still got your rosewood board with your Trini Lopez style inlay. And then for a little bit more fun, they did the old pre-war Gibson logo. And yes, that's right, you're seeing the non-reverse Firebird headstock on these. That's part of their charm. But whoa! Okay, we flip over to the back. You still get the natural on the body, but then you've got this dark back finish on the neck. I'm not quite sure what that's about. It just looks like they left the original finish on the neck and only modified the body. And it's got the mini Grover tuners with your custom shop style case. This one's pretty pricey though at $7,000. One of those few times where I think I'd just prefer the stock variation. But yeah, I love it as a talking piece. The next one to catch my attention is the 70s Flying V. They called the finish Winter Green Patina. First things first, we got the P94 pickups. Those are humbucker-sized P90s, so it fits in the existing routes without them having to change stuff. We've got blacked-out hardware, including the covers. And then we've got a sparkly green finish that has a bit of a color shift effect to it. I'm liking that. Speaking of color shifting, our full body shot shows we have a different colored headstock. From straight on, it looks more like a pale gold, but at an angle, it darkens up. However, they left an edge of the wintergreen paint just to kind of give it a faux bound effect. And oh my goodness, my friends, this foreshadows something on the side, but it really shows you just how much blue is in that green color as well. But now we flip over to the backside, it seems more of the same until we get to our headstock, but we get that gold stinger on the back with the same extra trim. Now we tease the side, and here's what it is. It's like they tried to do a stinger on the edge, and then they left the edge gold. I like the inventiveness, but I'd be curious to see, do you guys think that works? In my opinion, not my favorite combination. But what I do like is, look, Government Green Series 1 case. And for like a $400 premium, I don't see why not. That was a good deal for someone. If you want something a little bit more tame, they called this one Extreme Marine Sparkle. The combination of that naming and me saying this is the more tame version is kind of funny. So this starred life is one of the P90 50s, in case you're not familiar, and it's got this nice metallic blue top. But what catches my attention is we've got a Sidewinder P90 pickup in the neck. It looks like a P90, but it's got two coils stacked on their side, so it's technically a humbucker. I mainly associate those with the 2014 Gibson Les Paul Futura. And oh my goodness, this isn't even a P90 either. Reading the description, it's a P100. So you have the two different versions of hum-canceling P90s. The Sidewinder that has them stacked side by side, and then the P100, which has the two coils stacked on top of each other. That's hilarious. I like it. And it appears the back is just completely black, but then they wired it up with 4 push-pull pots. Nice. And they wanted to show it off, and they gave it a clear backplate. But as far as what those are doing, you've got the 2 coil splits for neck and bridge. Then you've got true bypass, which I would assume is like that direct to bridge like we see on the Les Paul Moderns. And then a series parallel switch instead of out of phase. That's usually what you have to choose between. I know when I did the Sweetwater project on what I wanted for my Epiphone, I decided to go for in and out of phase. And oof, looks like we've got some of the original gold finish popping through. But wow, that one's chunky, 10.5 pounds, and they nearly won $1,000 premium. However, if that one's a little bit too crazy and pricey for you, they also have Periwinkle Satin. It started life as the exact same thing. It got a similar but not quite as extreme blue finish, and you don't get any of the fancy electronics, and they're just regular P90s. And it's got the natural back and sides. With the super offset mod stamp, you know that gives you the extra tone you're looking for. But wow, this black Cherryburst Satin guitar apparently is a Les Paul Modern. I thought this was one of the more visually striking ones this week, but now that I fully understand what model it is now, it makes it even more interesting. I just thought it was like a 50 standard, but no, we had just reviewed these. So now we got this red Blackburst. with a red toggle switch, white knobs. It's a satin, you've got a dirty fingers in the bridge. Being a modern, it has the true mother-of-pearl inlay. And interesting, the back was left alone. For some reason, the idea of a satin-finished back Les Paul Modern really appeals to me. Maybe a future iteration could feature a gloss top with satin back and sides. But that one's offered at $3,100. And I was surprised to see a Thunderbird bass in here. Kind of reminds me of the Nikki Sixx signature, except for his had the cross inlays and all of the other stuff going on for it. Although apparently we're using Rex Bucker Thunderbird pickups, and judging by this photo, they must be active, needing that 9-volt battery compartment on the back. But outside of the satin finish, not too crazy. But how do you feel about this one for a 59 reissue, Cherry Red Flame? I think it looks like a late 2018 Les Paul standard, which is not a compliment in this case. It definitely has that modern vibe, having the whole perimeter burst. The top's not bad. The color is unique, but I feel cream plastics would have pulled it off better. But once you get to the headstock, you can tell it's a historic. And especially on the back. I actually really like this. The aniline dyes are definitely not as strong as they have been in the past, and I'm all here for it. It almost looks like this one has faded, which is kind of cool. And everything has a twin this week, but this time in 56 style, Gold Cherryburst. Now this one, I think they're a little bit closer onto something. I would like to see a teardrop version of it, but it looks like we might have had chrome pickup covers. They're just a little bit hard to see. Clear pick guard's always cool. Super dark rosewood board. And then, whoa, I like the neck. I'm not so sure about painting the back plate. But at the same time, this looks like it got contaminated with a little bit more red, whereas that neck is a pristine gold. Now I'm curious, did they do the edges? Unfortunately, we do not have proof, but it wouldn't surprise me. And that might seem like a really good price for a reissue, but you gotta remember the 56 reissues are nowhere near as expensive as the R9s, so I would love to see more custom colors of these. There was a 70s Explorer in what they called Cobalt Metallic Flake. I passed over this one on launch day because I just thought it was like blackish, but no, that's like a really nice dark bluish purple. No wonder they put that moto guard on it. And they mix matched, looks like black with an aged nickel or something. And I was hoping they would do that matching headstock. Ooh, okay. So to break up the monotony as well as chaos, they sprayed the back, likely the sides, and they gave the headstock a sparkly stinger. But the neck itself is actually a very piercing dark blue. I kind of feel like I missed out on this one. This one was priced at a $900 premium. However, I cannot blame someone for buying that. And then lastly, we'll finish up strong with Royal Metallic Les Paul Custom. Another one I didn't appreciate on launch day that had a lot of cool features. So gold hardware, nothing special on a custom, but I love the midnight blue finish, it looks great. But then I'm sorry ma'am, matching headstock happened. No crazy stingers, but at least it's a full-on gloss finish and it's all over. Including our mod collection stamp again. And my friends, that's at least a $200 discount they gave ya. No wonder it sold. That wraps up USA side. Now let's check out the EU collection. They had the left-handed Sweet Purple Standard 60s. It's a dark purple burst, bedazzled knobs, super purple rings, gold hardware, with a natural back. Then a beautiful SG Custom in Inverness Green for $53. It's always cool to see these SG Customs in non-traditional colors. You don't find these out in the wild too often. But now, demo shop time. We did get updates out of the UK and European demo shops. However, the UK had like 10 new offerings here. I didn't necessarily see anything worth talking about. Except for this particular double cut reissue. There's an interesting paint splotch on the back of the headstock that almost makes it look like there's a big crack repair right here and then somebody had to touch it up. That's probably not what it was at all. And yeah, we got some finish within the wood grain of our fretboard. That's nothing I would necessarily worry about. It might also just be a little bit of lacquered delamination. But then we had some chipping finish around the neck joint. Now they say it's perfectly fine, it's non-structural. And looking at that, I would tend to agree. And then this was the new EU shop offerings. A few of these actually had some interesting grain. So at first, the 70s Flying V might not look all that special. You can find many guitars that look like this, but it's the full body shop. Let's adjust the saturation here so you can see what I'm talking about. It's right here. This area of the fretboard just has a ridiculously red spot, which is fine. It's natural variation within the wood. But this photo right here really shows you just how different it is. It gives your guitar a very cool characteristic mark. Like even if somebody stole that, refinished the whole thing, you'd still be able to ID it by that. Next up, they had one of these /J45s, apparently from 2019. I really liked the back on that one. And then I didn't realize they made the G series in left-handed variations, so a G45. The whole thing about these things is the fact that they have the sound port on the side and you're supposed to be able to hear yourself better playing because it projects towards you as well as towards the audience. But if you wanted to take this, string it up as a righty, since the body shape is pretty much symmetrical outside of swapping your nut. I wonder if this could inspire you to play in a different way, because the whole guitar would sound different because it's now projecting away from you and it might bounce off the room in a different way. It might inspire someone out there. It's just something I thought about. But now let's talk the USA demo shop. We saw a whole bunch of new stuff. First off, a screaming deal. First run Rick Beato, $16.99. Towards the higher end of this market, they were going for $3,000 plus. Nowadays, now that they decided to keep the red ones in production a little bit longer, the blue ones haven't been selling for as much, but they still sell at a premium because this was the finish that was the most limited. It was in the demo shop because of some impressions by the bridge. But then I was thinking, oh, are they going to do more of this run now? But no, if you look back here, that's an older style serial number, so that's just been sitting in the archives. And this was a rare occurrence. We just reviewed these. The dark purple burst finish, the first one to show up in the demo shop, which is great because these are a Gibson.com exclusive. They don't discount their prices and you get what you get. So at least in the demo shop, you get a little bit of a discount, even if it does have a little bit of wear and tear. This one's got a nut outline and some other small blemishes that, honestly, if you look long and hard enough on a new guitar, you can find just about anything you want. But at least you had an idea of the top that was coming, and I would say it's not the most traditional. You've got some dead spots that'll still color shift, but it looks pretty nice to me. And that sold rather quickly, and wow, look at that, 102 watchers. That's impressive. But I was excited to see this, the Silver Mist SG Standard. So this is part of the new custom color series. You can check out this episode if you need to learn about that. This is the other one I would like to check out, but this time they modified our pick guard, they modified the pickups that were in it, they gave us the witch hat knobs to give it more of a late 60s vibe, and they were really going gung-ho on this whole black and white theme, where they really did transform the look at this one. But you can see the wood grain through the finish, so that's either a plus and or a minus for you. In many ways, this would probably look very similar to the Dave Mustaine Flying V in person, so you can check out that review and demo if you want to see how that looks. But that one's technically $200 off. You don't see the SG Special Custom Shop too often, so I thought I'd point this one out. But then we had a double cut special that I wanted to share for a very particular reason. Those frets are immaculate. Now that I've gotten into polishing my frets with polishing compound rather than my old steel wool way, I've come to appreciate when other people do a similar process because it just makes the guitar feel so slinky and great to play. And trust me, I buy a lot of new guitars and most of them just aren't to that standard. And it's probably because they've been stored away for who knows how long. Like we learned in the Andertons tour videos that the frets are already in the fretboard when they glue it on there, so they might be sitting there for a while. They might have looked this good brand new, but it takes a long time to get to the customer. Because come over to this other one and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This is how most Gibson fret wire looks like when it eventually gets to you. It's not bad until you know it can look like this. Next up, they had one of the modern lights in the TV wheat finish. So you can check out this review and demo if you need to learn all about these. Despite TV wheat not having satin in the name, it still is a satin finish. As you can clearly see here, open pore. But as you'll learn from that episode, these are not like a really cheap satin finish. They might look it in photos, but it's more of like a eggshell satin, you know, almost a semi-gloss. Those things are a little bit expensive brand new, $1,500, but that one at $1,100 wasn't too bad. Next up, a Les Paul Special, vintage cherry color. Sharing because I guess maybe the Plek machine slipped and went zoop. Kind of gives you an interesting look right here because it just shaved the binding down and a little bit of the fretboard. Are you going to notice it when you play? Probably not too much. This was a particularly nice top on one of the Kirk Hammett Greenies. There was a pretty good deal on one of the newer Les Paul Supremes. That's $800 off. So if you happen to like this top, which is nothing to sneeze at, except for maybe this strange dark area. But again, that's going to change in the lighting situation. Could be worth getting $800 off. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this week's recap. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.